Step away from the panel. You're in a red zone, now.
I'm inspecting a city system I oversee. Call it in and verify.
Verify what? You don't have a badge. You don't belong
My
here.
name is Regina Vance. I authorize this building.
Turn around, hands behind your back.
If you touch me, you end your career.
The Metro Data Nexus sits like a fortress of glass and steel in the heart of the financial district. It isn't a public library or a park. It's the nerve center for the city's traffic grids, water treatment controls, and emergency communication lines. It's the kind of place that hums with the sound of servers and serious money. The lobby is a cavern of white marble and brushed aluminum designed to make visitors feel small and authority feel absolute. It was 10:15 a.m. on a Tuesday in October. The autumn sun was cutting sharp angles through the blast-proof windows. The morning rush of technicians and administrators had settled into a quiet rhythm. Regina Vance had been serving the city for 25 years. She was a civil engineer by trade, a bureaucrat by necessity, and a leader by nature. She spent the first decade of her career in the trenches supervising bridge repairs and tunnel boring projects. She spent the next 10 years climbing the ladder of city management, dismantling corruption in the zoning department, and streamlining the chaotic Public Works Division. For the last 5 years, she had served as the Director of Municipal Operations. Her colleagues didn't just respect her, they feared her attention to detail. She was known as the auditor behind her back because nothing, absolutely nothing, slipped past her desk without being triple-checked. At 54, Regina carried herself with the heavy, quiet confidence of a woman who knows exactly where the bodies are buried because she dug the graves for the budget cuts herself. That Tuesday morning, Regina wasn't wearing her usual power suit. She was conducting a Level 1 surprise inspection of the Nexus HVAC cooling systems, which had been showing irregular power consumption readings. She wore dark blue heavy-duty work pants, steel-toed boots, a gray thermal shirt, and a high-visibility yellow vest draped over her arm. She looked like a worker. She looked like someone who got her hands dirty. To the untrained eye, she looked like maintenance staff. But to anyone who knew the city, she was the most powerful person in the building. She had bypassed the main reception desk using the executive elevator in the parking garage, a route reserved for top-tier clearance. She hadn't spoken to a soul. She was focused on the task at hand, her mind running through schematics and voltage requirements. But as she stepped off the elevator on the ground floor to check the main intake vents, her presence triggered an alarm in the mind of Bryce Miller, a 24-year-old lobby attendant whose primary qualification for the job was his uncle's position in the union. Bryce saw a black woman in work clothes walking with purpose toward a restricted utility corridor. He didn't see a director. He saw a janitor who was lost, or worse, a trespasser looking for something to steal. Bryce didn't approach her. He didn't ask, "Can I help you, ma'am?" He keyed his radio. "Dispatch, this is lobby. We have an unauthorized individual female 50s heading toward the north wing corridors. Looks like maintenance, but she's not wearing a badge. Over." The call went out. Officer Kyle Dantry was on the third floor, bored and looking for something to do. He caught the transmission and felt that familiar surge of adrenaline. "Copy, lobby. I'm intercepting." Dantry had a history that should have precluded him from working in a high-security environment. He'd washed out of the State Police Academy 3 years prior for temperament issues and failing the de-escalation modules. Iron Shield Security, the private firm contracted by the city, had hired him because he was big, intimidating, and willing to work double shifts. They didn't care about his temperament. They cared that he looked the part. Dantry took the stairs 2 at a time, moving with the aggressive speed of a man imagining he was hunting a fugitive. He intercepted Regina Vance just as she was opening the panel to a pressure valve on the third-floor landing, a red zone area restricted to top-level engineers. "Hey, you!" Dantry's voice boomed down the concrete hallway, echoing off the steel conduits. "Step away from the panel." Regina didn't jump. She didn't flinch. She finished checking the gauge, noted the pressure reading on her clipboard, and slowly turned around. She saw a young man, barely 30, with a buzz cut and a tactical vest that looked too clean, hand resting ominously near his taser. "Officer." Regina said, her voice calm, possessing the flat, unimpressed timbre of a mother dealing with a tantrum. "Is there an issue?" "The issue is, you're in a restricted zone," Dantry snapped, closing the distance between them. He stopped 4 feet away, looming over her. "This is a red zone. Maintenance break room is in the basement. You need to clear out, now." Regina adjusted her glasses. "I'm not looking for the break room, young man. I'm inspecting the intake valve for the server cooling loop. It's running 3 degrees hot." Dantry scoffed a short, sharp sound of dismissal. "Yeah, sure. And I'm the mayor. Look, I don't know who let you up here or if you just wandered out of the cleaning closet but you don't have a badge visible. That's a violation. Let's go." "I don't wear my badge on a lanyard when I'm near heavy machinery. It's a safety hazard," Regina explained, her patience already thinning. "My credentials are in my pocket, and for the record, I'm not cleaning staff. I'm the Director of Municipal Operations." Dantry laughed. It was a cruel, incredulous laugh. "Director of Operations, right. In work boots. Lady, do I look stupid to you? The director is a guy named Vance, and he wears a suit." "My name is Regina Vance," she corrected her voice, dropping an octave, becoming steelier. "And I don't wear suits to crawl through ventilation shafts. Now, if you're done posturing, I have work to do." "You have work to do." Dantry stepped closer, invading her personal space. "Your work is leaving. Now show me some ID or you're going out in cuffs." Regina sighed. She reached into her back pocket. Dantry flinched, hand twitching toward his belt. "Slowly," he barked. She pulled out a slim black leather wallet. From it, she extracted 2 things. The first was her standard city ID, worn and faded from years of use. The second was a solid black smart card with no photo, no name, just a gold-embedded chip and the city seal embossed in silver. It was a master access key, an item so rare that only 5 people in the entire city government possessed one. It opened every door, started every generator, and overrode every security lock in the metro area. She held them out. "Officer Dantry, I see your name tag. This is my city director ID, and this is a master access key. If you have a scanner, you can verify both right now." Dantry snatched the cards from her hand. He barely looked at the ID. He focused on the black card. He flipped it over. No magnetic strip, no photo, no barcode. To him, it looked like a piece of plastic she'd bought online. "This is fake," Dantry declared, tossing the cards back at her. They clattered to the floor. "I've worked this site for a year. Access cards are white with a blue stripe. This black card is nonsense. It's a prop." "It's an Omni key," Regina said, bending down to retrieve her property, her movements deliberate and dignified. "It grants access to the mainframe. Scan it." "I'm not scanning your fake toys," Dantry sneered. "You think you can just print a black card and walk into a government server farm? That's a felony. Impersonating a city official, that's another felony." "Officer," Regina said, standing up straight, "you are making a career-ending mistake. I am asking you to pick up your radio call, your dispatch, and ask for verification on Regina Vance. Do it now." "I don't need dispatch to tell me what I can see with my own eyes," Dantry said, his ego now fully driving the bus. "I see a trespasser with forged credentials refusing to comply with a lawful order. Turn around. Hands behind your back." "Do you think security firms need better training on recognizing high-level credentials, or is this purely an ego problem? Let me know in the comments below." Regina didn't move. "I am not turning around. I am not trespassing. I am the client. My signature is on the bottom of the contract that authorizes Iron Shield Security to patrol this building. If you touch me, you are assaulting a senior city official." "Last warning," Dantry growled. "Verify the card," Regina insisted. Dantry lunged. He grabbed Regina's left wrist, twisting it sharply behind her back. It wasn't a guiding motion. It was a punishment. Regina gasped as the joint strained, but she didn't scream. She went rigid. "Stop resisting," Dantry shouted for the benefit of the empty hallway. "I am not resisting," Regina stated clearly, wincing as he shoved her against the concrete wall. "I am complying under duress." Just then, the service elevator dinged. 2 men in coveralls stepped out, senior electricians from the contracting team. They stopped, eyes widening as they saw the security guard manhandling the woman they knew as the boss. "Hey!" one of the electricians yelled. "Whoa, officer, that's Ms. Vance." "Back off!" Dantry yelled over his shoulder, snapping the handcuffs onto Regina's wrists with unnecessary force. The metal bit into her skin. "This subject is under arrest for trespassing and possession of forged instruments." "Forged?" the electrician sputtered. "Buddy, that's the director. She runs this place." "Not anymore," Dantry said, fueled by the adrenaline of the arrest. He spun Regina around. "You can tell your story to the judge, lady." Regina looked Dantry in the eye. Her face was calm, but her eyes were burning with a cold, terrifying intelligence. "Officer Dantry, listen to me very carefully. I didn't just buy that card. I issued the contract that put you in this uniform. Clause 14, Section B of the Municipal Security Agreement states that any contractor who detains a city official without verification is subject to immediate termination and civil liability. You have just violated that clause." Dantry laughed again, pushing her forward. "You talk a lot for someone in cuffs. Walk." He marched her toward the elevator past the stunned electricians who were already pulling out their phones. Dantry felt powerful. He felt righteous. He had caught the intruder, the imposter who thought she could bluff her way into the Nexus. He didn't see a director. He saw a victory. The walk to the patrol car parked in the loading dock was a parade of humiliation. Dantry paraded her past the loading crews, past the janitorial staff, past the confused tech workers. Regina held her head high, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She was cataloging everything: the grip on her arm, the tightness of the cuffs, the sneer in his voice, the exact time 10:42 a.m. He shoved her into the back of his marked Iron Shield cruiser. "Comfortable?" he asked sarcastically. "You have no idea what you've started," Regina said softly. Yeah. Save it." Dantry slammed the door. The drive to the 4th precinct took 20 minutes. Dantry spent the time radioing ahead, bragging to the dispatcher about catching a high-level breach suspect with sophisticated forgery tools. He was already writing the commendation in his head. When they arrived at the precinct, Dantry hauled Regina out of the car. He marched her through the sally port and into the booking area. The station was busy. Officers were processing paperwork, drinking coffee, handling the day's intake. Behind the high desk sat Sergeant Thomas Miller, a 58-year-old veteran of the force. Miller had seen it all. He was 2 years from retirement and had zero patience for fools. He looked up as Dantry wrestled Regina toward the bench. "What do you have, Dantry?" Miller asked, his voice gravelly. "And why is she in cuffs?" "Trespassing at the Nexus," Dantry announced proudly, slamming Regina's wallet and the black card onto the counter. "Caught her in the red zone, claimed to be a director, produced this fake badge and this joke of an access card, refused to leave." Miller looked at the wallet. He looked at the black card. Then he looked at the woman standing there, hands cuffed behind her back, wearing work boots and a dusty thermal shirt. He looked at her face. Miller's face went white. The color drained out of him so fast it looked like he'd been shot. He stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Dantry," Miller whispered, his voice trembling. "Do you know who this is?" "Yeah, some lady named Regina who thinks she owns the place." Dantry scoffed. "Regina Vance." Miller said the name, coming out like a prayer for mercy. "The Director of Municipal Operations. The woman who approves our precinct's overtime budget. The woman who just secured the funding for the new dispatch system." The room went silent. A typewriter stopped clacking. A phone rang and went unanswered. Dantry blinked. "What? No. Look at her. She's in work clothes. And that card, it's black. It's fake." "That is a master key, you moron," Miller roared, coming around the desk. "Unlock her right now." Dantry froze. But she was in the red zone. She built the red zone, Miller yelled. He shoved Dantry aside and pulled a key from his belt. Ms. Vance, I am so sorry. I don't know what this idiot was thinking. Miller fumbled with the cuffs. The metal clicked open. Regina rubbed her wrists. There were deep red welts where the steel had dug in. She didn't say a word to Miller. She turned slowly to Dantry. Dantry was staring at her, the blood rushing to his face. I thought... You didn't think, Regina said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried across the silent room. You assumed. You saw a black woman in work clothes and assumed she didn't belong. You saw a card you didn't recognize and assumed it was fake because you couldn't conceive that I might have higher clearance than you. I need to verify, Dantry stammered. Call the chief, Regina said to Sergeant Miller, and call the CEO of Iron Shield. Tell them to meet me here. Now. Yes, ma'am, Miller said, reaching for the red phone. The next hour was a blur of high-powered arrivals. Chief of Police Marcus Holloway arrived first, looking thunderous. Then came Robert Sterling, the CEO of Iron Shield Security, looking like a man marching to his execution. Regina sat in the captain's office, holding an ice pack to her wrist. Dantry was standing in the corner, stripped of his duty belt, looking smaller than he had ever looked in his life. Scan the card, Regina said, pointing to the black rectangle on the desk. Sterling pulled out a high-level diagnostic scanner. His hands were shaking. He swiped the black card. The scanner let out a melodic three-tone chime. The screen flashed bright green, access granted. Level 10, global override. User Vance Regina. Sterling closed his eyes. It's real. Of course it's real, Regina said. I issued it to myself 3 years ago. She turned to the chief. Chief Holloway Officer Dantry arrested me for trespassing in a building I manage. He refused to verify my ID. He used excessive force on a compliant subject, and he did it based on racial bias. It wasn't racial, Dantry blurted out. She didn't look like a director. And what does a director look like, Mr. Dantry? Regina asked. Do we not wear work boots? Do we not inspect our own infrastructure? Or is it that we don't look like me? Dantry opened his mouth, then closed it. There was no answer he could give that wouldn't bury him deeper. Regina turned to Sterling. Mr. Sterling, Iron Shield holds the municipal security contract because of my signature. That contract has a specific clause regarding the professional conduct of your officers and the requirement to verify credentials before detainment. Your officer failed. Catastrophically. Ms. Vance, we can handle this internally, Sterling pleaded. We'll fire him. We'll retrain the squad. No, Regina said. The trust is broken. You put a man with a history of aggression. I had my office pull his file while I was waiting in a position of power. You failed to train him to recognize the very leadership he serves. The contract is void, effective immediately. Sterling's face went gray. That contract was worth $12 million a year. And as for you, Regina looked at Dantry, you wanted to be a hero. You wanted to catch the bad guy. You just became the bad guy. The fallout was swift and brutal. Iron Shield Security lost the municipal contract the next morning. Their stock plummeted, leading to bankruptcy within 6 months. The city of Chicago settled Regina Vance's civil rights lawsuit for $4.8 million money. She immediately donated to a scholarship fund for minority engineers. Kyle Dantry was fired before he left the building. He was stripped of his special police powers and blacklisted from every security firm in the state. At 29, his career in law enforcement was over. He currently works in a warehouse packing boxes where no one cares about his instincts. Regina Vance continued her work, but every time she walked into the Nexus, the new security team hired directly by the city stood up straighter. They knew better. They knew that power doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears work boots and carries a black card. This story forces us to ask a hard question. How many times does this happen to people who don't have a master access card? How many people are stopped, harassed, and handcuffed simply because they don't fit the profile in someone's biased mind? Regina Vance had the power to fight back, but she fought for those who can't. Officer Dantry thought he was protecting the building. In reality, he was protecting his own prejudice, and that protection cost him everything. What do you think? Should private security guards have qualified immunity, or should they be personally liable for civil rights violations like this? And how do we fix a system where looking like a boss is determined by race and gender? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you believe in accountability, hit that like button and share this story. Let's make sure everyone knows that you can't judge a book or a director by the cover. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.